Great story.
Something that I
Um,
thought went really right. Offensive line play. Jawaan Taylor, I don't care how much people made fun of him on Thursday night. It
I guess
got
we got to
highlighted.
address it. We got to
You got
address
to
it.
address it, right? Because it bad. Where did he line up? Was it bad? Yeah, it was horrible. He lined up as an off-ball wide receiver on the offensive line. Like it was bad, and he was false starting the entire night. That's one that should have not been passed up. You can't sit there and shake your legs the whole time trying to get a jump. But where he was lined up, and you look at where everybody else was lined up on Sunday, he wasn't lining up any different than anyone else was. And one thing I'd like to go back and take a look at, Aiden Hutchinson was lined up in the neutral zone. His helmet was halfway across the ball for 21 snaps. So part of the reason why Jawaan Taylor was lined up as far back as he was is because Aiden Hutchinson kept lining up across the ball. Of course, he's going to do that. He's not going to want to be lost on a step or half a step. So you line up a little bit further back, and the rest of the league decided that they were going to do it on Sundays as well. And nobody called it. There was no flags. The only reason Juwan got the flag was for a false start, not lining up incorrectly. And the league seems to be going along with that.
Well, I was gonna say the whole false start thing. We bitched about it in the Super Bowl because it's the same exact thing Lane Johnson was doing in the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Uh, and I think Jawan Taylor actually has a pretty documented history of doing that already. Like he was one
Mm-hmm.
of the worst in the league
Yeah.
last year. So it's a league wide thing that it's like if they're gonna let him do it, like that's fine, but you better have some sort of a distinction or a clear cut like this is a false start and this is acceptable.
I mean, it honestly reminds me of Mitchell Schwartz in the Super Bowl whenever we actually won it. He was getting great jumps all night. Granted, Jawan Taylor's looked a little bit not as clean, but it was very reminiscent of that.
And he held his ground against a solid player in Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, he played well all
It
night,
was a
gave up
battle. There was I've seen people call it both ways, like Jawan Taylor beat Aiden's ass and vice versa. And I think both of them got their licks in. Like
I
Aiden
think
made a
so.
couple plays here and there.
He gave up 0 sacks. I don't even know if Juwan gave up a quarterback hit off of Aiden Hutchinson. I know he gave up 2 pressures. Now, Aiden Hutchinson did get a couple of hits off, and that was when he decided to line up as a 3 technique and absolutely just shit all over Trey Smith. One of the
Is he big
guys
old
that
poopy?
just big old poop right on his chest. I mean, one of the guys that is the staple of our offensive line, and he will be, and he'll get paid, and we'll be perfectly fine. But Aiden lined up as a 3 tech and took that boy to school. Wasn't even funny. I just lit him up. And on the left hand side, man, Donovan Smith, old guy, ain't looking too bad. Gave up some pressures. I believe they documented it at a higher rate than I think they said that they gave him 13 pressures in week 1 against the Lions. And apparently Orlando Brown Jr. had let up like 13 pressures all last season or something, which is a lie. Yeah, he didn't give up 13 pressures. I don't know. I don't know who's documenting that. Patrick Mahomes had over 2.5 seconds to throw, even if that's rolling out of the pocket. That's not considered a pressure. That's just a pocket collapse. Like no, Donovan Smith, everybody across the line had a really, really good night. And that's really interesting to see. I would really love to see maybe by the season's end, Wanya Morris maybe work in over Donovan Smith as we start to potentially integrate that guy into being our starting left tackle next season.
That might be that's a big ask. Eye test. The collective group on the line looks better than what we had last year.
Oh, for sure.
Just from the eye test.
Pat's still getting used to him. He's moving out a little bit quicker than he needs to sometimes, but that's just Pat.
That's who he is.
Also, I mean, the Lions have a good rush. The
Very
Lions
good.
have a good D line.
They got a
So
good team, man. They're gonna do well in the NFC this year. With the
one can
Vikings
only hope.
playing big fat goose eggs wherever they are, I think that division might be the Lions for the taking.